it will let me start that. Let's see here. Yes, it does not. So yeah, if you go ahead and start the recording, we'll go ahead and get this started.
All set, David.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much. Well, thank you all for joining us for this Gmail calendar and Meet overview training. I know this has been a long time coming. Excited to share this information with you today. A couple things to note. As I mentioned, we are recording this today, so you'll have this as a reference after the fact. We do have quite a bit of information to get through. I am going to leave about 10 to 15 minutes at the end for Q&A, but I do want to make sure that I do get through all of this material. So if you do have any questions, all you have to do, again, I'd probably, if you can, just wait till the end, maybe write it down. And then when we get to that Q&A section, just take yourself off mute. You can ask the question there. But I'm going to go ahead and get started here. My name is David Sanchez. I'm a senior technical trainer and change management specialist with Dido, which is one of Google's premier cloud partners. And what we're going to walk through today, some of the things that we're going to take a look at here in Gmail. I know that you're moving from Outlook, so I'm going to show you how to make make Gmail look like Outlook, which is utilizing that preview pane. We can talk about conversation threading potentially here. We're going to look at some of the other differences between Gmail and Outlook. Just going to show you some basics, how to respond to an email, opening up an email, using labels in Gmail is what they're called versus folders. And then if we have time, obviously we'll go through like the signature out of Office setup. When we're looking at Google Calendar, we're going to actually look at the different calendar views and settings, creating and editing events, which will include, attaching the details for a Google Meet. Also looking at the notifications section, reoccurring events. You can email guests very easily from an event, so we'll take a look at that hopefully as well as responding to those events. And then lastly, we're going to go through Google Meets, which will tie hand in hand with Calendar. And some of the main features of Google Meet, you can have up to 250 participants live in a Meet. If you need more than that, you do have the ability to create a stream that will work for up to 10,000 people at view only, but you can do that with Google Meet. You can record the meetings just like we're doing here in Zoom. It does just like Zoom, it creates that dial-in number that's associated with the meeting. Here you have the ability to raise your hand, there's a Q&A section, and then changing the background. So that's a lot of the basics that I've been asked to cover. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. First and foremost, you do want to be using Chrome for this Google Workspace kind of platform and experience. It was called G Suite up until about October of this past year. So if you hear me saying Google Workspace, and I'm not using the word G Suite, it is the same thing essentially, but there's all these new features. And as they've been adding all these new features, that's when they decided to rebrand it as Google Workspace. So the web link that I tell people to save is workspace.google.com/dashboard. You don't have to worry about this U and this 2 that's in here. It's doing this because this is my demo account. But in Chrome, what I typically tell people to do is go right up here to your settings. It'll say more options. It's these 3 dots up here in the upper right-hand corner. You'll then go to settings. Then what you're going to want to do is scroll to the bottom of this screen and you'll see on startup, this area that we can check this off that says open a specific page or set of pages. One of those that I have here is my dashboard, workspace.google.com/dashboard, so that this page opens up. Another great practice that I see a lot of people do here is, let's say you want this to launch your email every time with Gmail or your Google Calendar, or maybe there's websites that you use specifically for your job that aren't Google based, right? So you can actually just hit add new page down here and keep adding those pages. So the moment you launch Chrome, all of those open up in separate tabs up here at the top, okay? I really like using this feature because then it's almost like this is my desktop and these are all the shortcuts to launch the apps that we're working with. The other really great thing about this, as you can see here, I'm in dashboard. The first thing that we're going to cover is Gmail. When I click on that, what does it do? It opens it up in its own tab right here all by itself, and it still leaves the dashboard open here on the first tab. So that's one way that you can do it. Another thing that you can do is if you just have a blank new tab open and you're not going to utilize the dashboard, you can go right over here in the upper right-hand corner to the Google Apps grid view. And then this will show you the different apps that you have that are available to you inside of Google Workspace. There are additional extensions or add-ons that you could download to Chrome that would allow you to reorder these if you wanted them in a specific order, something like that. But I will say, close this tab. But I will say this one I enjoy more. And unfortunately here, you cannot change the order of these, right? They're all listed in alphabetical order, and they just do that so you can find it easier. Okay. So let's take a look here at Gmail. So when we open up Gmail, what you'll typically see is this. You're going to see your message list here in the middle. A lot of you should see this over here on the left-hand side. If for some reason you don't see this on our previous training, there was a gentleman that didn't see this, or every time you move the mouse over it, it kind of like it would maximize and you'd pull away and it would minimize. That's this little stack up here at the top. So when you click on that little stack, you'll notice that it's minimized. And as I hover the mouse over it, it pops it open there. Okay. That's just, again, this stack up here at the top. I personally prefer to view this all the time so that I can take a look at messages that are coming in and things like that. Now, other things that you might see over here on the left is Google Chat, which I have over here on the right-hand side, which is where I prefer it. If you're seeing that over here and it's covering up your labels, you can easily move it to the right. And I'll show you how to do that momentarily. But the other big thing that we want to talk about right off the bat is just how to make this look more like Outlook. And we can do this by creating a preview pane. And to do that, there should be a little arrow right here. Okay, if you don't see this arrow, and this is not an option to you to say no split, vertical split, or horizontal split, the way to enable it is to go right here to this Discog, and it will pull up your quick settings. And then just as you scroll down a little bit, you would just choose this option under reading pane. You just say right of inbox, okay? And then we just close out of our settings. And then anytime you highlight an email message, you're going to see that full email right here in the preview pane on the right-hand side, right? So that's how to enable that. Once you get this preview pane here, you can adjust the size of the column by simply hovering the mouse over top of this vertical line. You click and drag, and then you can move it to see either more of your message list and less of the preview, or vice versa, right? I typically keep mine like this. This will usually look more like Outlook by doing this, and or something like Apple Mail, right? So this is huge. And I think it's a great time saver as well. So the other thing I want to show you how to do is how to get the chat and rooms and things like that over here on the right-hand side, again, just so it's not eating up all that space over top of your labels. To do that, you just simply, again, go to the Discog settings. Then you're going to go deeper in. You're going to go to CL settings, and this will open up. And you're going to see all these different little sub menus up here at the top. And the one that we're specifically looking for is this one right here in the upper middle of the screen that says Chat and Meet. And when you click on that, you just want to make sure that you change this from left side of inbox, which is probably where it is by default, to right side of inbox. And then as soon as you're done doing that, you would hit Save Changes. So mine is grayed out because it's already there. Important thing to note here is as you come into your settings, and let's say you adjust something here that wasn't enabled before, you always have to scroll to the very bottom of the screen and hit Save Changes. If you do not, those settings that you're making those changes to will not save. Okay. And again, I'll just go back to my inbox. And then now all of my chats are over here on the right-hand side. This is Google Chat. Okay. So we've got this now looking like Outlook, and let's just go ahead and just do something very simply, which is just responding to a message. So we can see what features are available to us in terms of formatting and whatnot. So this is our star button right here, which is very similar to, you can think of it as like flagging in Outlook or Apple Mail. This will help you to find these files faster, these emails faster. You have this section that's called Start over here on the left that you would click on, and anything that you have starred will appear there. So that's what this button does. To the right of that is your reply button. Now, these dots are always going to give you more options. Other things that you might use here aside from reply, if there were multiple people that were part of this email thread, right below reply, it would say reply all. So you can reply to everyone, you could forward the message. Potentially, you might need to report it as spam. I would tell you Gmail's spam filter is very aggressive. So it does a really great job at really filtering out spam. I just got a phishing email the other day for Google Education making changes, and they were specifically phishing the new Apple computers with the M1 chips, which I have. And I was able to report that message as phishing, and it went to our tech support inside of our company. And then they, of course, sent out messaging and have blocked that and things like that. So it's pretty awesome the way that this works. So we're just going to go ahead and reply to a message. Now, when we do this, it's going to look a bit different. You can see that it's just now in this small little window at the bottom. Now, Google has set this up so that you can still see your chat messages, look at your quick menu over here on the right that would allow you to get to like your calendar or notes or task lists and things like that, as well as your inbox and seeing any new messages that come in. So it's taken me a little bit of time to get used to, using it like this. But if I'm just, typing a simple email and stuff like that, I just kind of keep this as is. You do have a couple of other options here. You can hit this button that says pop out reply. This I like even more so because I can see it a bit better. And then you do have the ability to go one step further with this button, which is going to open that email up in full screen mode. But it does obviously hide the things that are back there. So we'll go ahead and just respond to this message here. We'll say hello. How are you today? Just so we can show you some of the formatting. So with our default font that we have here, if we want to change those fonts, they do appear down here at the bottom. You can click this drop down and scroll through any of these. I believe on our previous call, we've determined that your default font for your company is Arial, which should appear in your list there. Aside from that, if you wanted to change the size of the font, you can do so with this button here. And it gives you 4 options. You've got small, normal, large, and huge. Normal here is kind of like your 13-point font, what your web browser and whatnot's already, or I'm sorry, what your word processor is already going to kind of do there with Google Docs and things like that. But we can do things like make something bold if we wanted to. So just by selecting it, we can come down here, we can hit bold. We can select the end part of this. Maybe we want that to be italicized and underlined. We can do that as well. We can adjust the color of our font here, or maybe the background color behind the letters. We can adjust whether your text aligns to the left, if it aligns to the center, and of course, if it aligns to the right. That's what that button does. And then below that, or to the right of that, sorry, I always get that mixed up, you can create a numbered list. So if I go here to numbered list, we can see that it says 1, and I'll just, type whatever in here. And the important thing to know is if you want this to turn off, the easiest thing to do is once you hit enter or return and come down to the next line, you just hit enter or return again. And it essentially clears out that formatting and it goes down to the next line. Same thing holds true with the bulleted list. Maybe you need to send an email that has bullet points. So you can do that again, just by typing in what you want, pressing return, goes to the next line. Again, if we're done with that, just press enter, return an additional time, and the formatting goes away. We do have the ability outside of the formatting. The formatting is this button right here. For some reason, you lose it or it doesn't pop up for you. It's just this A with an underline down here by the send button. But maybe we need to attach a file. Maybe there's an image or something like that. So one of the really cool things that you can do with both Google Drive and with Gmail is you can actually just drag and drop right into the message. So I've made my screen a little bit smaller so I can get to this Dido logo here that's on my desktop. You can actually just drag it and drop it in one step and add it to your message. You could do this with documents. You can do this with images, logos, you name it. It's just a simple drag and drop. If you were adding other files from your computer, you could just use this little paper clip and it's going to work just like it kind of did for you before in Outlook, where you click on this and then of course you can navigate through your hard drive, find the file that you want, hit open. But I do love that drag and drop if it is quick and available there for you from your desktop. Now, another really important thing that is useful is inserting a link. So let's say that I have this slide presentation that we just briefly went through at the beginning. Here's the link to it right up here at the top, right in our web browser. So I've selected it just by clicking on it. I'm going to right click and say copy. And then when I go back over here, if I click paste, we get this really long link. And once we send it, it would actually be a clickable hyperlink. I personally don't like the way that this looks. So I use this little feature right here, which is insert a link. And here's what it does. It says, what text do you want to display here? So I'm just going to use the example that I always use of slide deck. Here it says, what is this a link to? A web address, an email address. So in this case, it's a web address. So I'm just going to now paste my web address there that I copied before and click OK. And now look, we've got this nice, clean looking slide deck link that once a person receives that, they hover over it, click, and it launches that particular website for them. Okay, so that I feel is very important. If we were ready to send the message, we can just simply click on send down here at the bottom. But what if you wanted to send that message later on after the fact? You want to like schedule send it, right? We can do that very easily with this drop down arrow next to send, and we could say schedule send. It will give you just 3 default times. There's no way to choose what these are, but you can, if none of these work for you, you can go right here to pick date and time. And then you can say, oh, I want this to be sent out on Monday at 8 a.m., right? And then I just hit schedule send. And now it pops up over here on the left side under scheduled. Okay. So that's really what you would do to respond to a message. If you were just creating a message from scratch, you would just hit this compose button up here in the upper left-hand corner, and then you're going to get that same kind of window where you could type in who it's to, the subject, the email itself. If you needed a carbon copy field, you click here. If you needed a blind carbon copy field, you click here. Okay, that's a lot of the important stuff there. Before we move on to our next topic, I do want to cover what labels are over here on the left-hand side. So labels are essentially taking over what your folders did. They do work like folders, but they do have an additional advantage, and I'll show you what that is. So if I just pull back on my, my split here, and let's say that I want to take this particular message down here, and I want to add a label to it. So to do that, I can right click on it, and we'll see label as, and let's just call this events, right? We don't have one that says events yet. So as I begin typing events, we'll see that it just says create new. If it already existed, it would pop up with events and it would have a little checkbox right here. So this one doesn't exist yet. So let's go ahead and create it. We'll hit events, create new. and hit create. And from there now we have this set up here that says events. Now, the other neat thing that we can do with this is we can also add additional labels to this if we wanted to, right? So if I go here to inbox and I look at this right here, let's say that I want to add, I don't know, we're in inbox. I'll take this one just really quickly again, label as events. So we'll see that little events label show up here. If I right click again, I can keep adding additional labels to this. So maybe this particular message appears or needs to appear in these different areas, right? It has to do with me, it has to do with an event, and it has to deal with technology. So in Outlook, you would actually have to copy that email multiple times and place it in multiple folders, where here, just by labeling it, I can go to David and I could find that message right there. I could go to events and find that message right there. And I could go to technology and I would also find it right here. Other things that you can do with these labels is you can color code them very easily. Maybe you're coming up with an internal system that every time this color comes through, it is from a client and it needs to be handled. Every time this comes through, it's internal work that I'm doing. Whatever that looks like for you, you can create a system, but you just right click on these little dots or just click on these dots and you can go to label color. And then of course you could pick from any of these colors that are in here and it will apply that color label to it. Okay. So that's a lot of the basics of Gmail. Of course, there's plenty more that we could talk about there, but just for time's sake, I am going to move over to Calendar next and then Google Meet. Again, if you have any questions, even if it's something that I haven't covered around this, just table that till the end, write it down, something like that so you don't forget it, and we will go through that. All right. So let's take a look here at Google Calendar. So as I open up Calendar, give this a second. There we go. So here we will see the current week that we're in. This is the very last view that I was in, and we can see that right here. Whenever you see the blue dot like this, that obviously means it's the current day. And then this red line is showing you where you're currently at in the timeline. And over here on the left is your timeline for your current time zone. You can change these views. So right now we're in week. If you click on this button right up here at the top, we can go day, week, month, year. We could look just specifically at the things that are scheduled. We can also look at 3 days. Currently, I am showing the weekends here. If I didn't want to see the weekends, I could just click on that and I would just see my Monday through Friday. I love seeing the weekends because I can see that I get some time off. I have nothing to do, hopefully, but relax. So, yep, there's that. Other important thing to note here with this button, when we see day, week, month, year, one of the things that's great to remember are just the letters that they begin with: D for day, W for week, M for month, Y for year. Because if the mouse is if you just kind of have it sitting here anywhere on the page, and I hit the letter D on my keyboard, it's going to switch to my daily view. If I hit Y, it's going to go to my yearly view. If I go to M, it's going to go to my monthly view. And then again, W, it's going to bring me back to my week view. So you can kind of be doing stuff in here. And as long as you don't have an event open, you can hit any of those keys to change the view if you like that keyboard shortcut, or you can use the button up here at the top. If you have scrolled through your calendar and you're a bit deeper in, we can see I'm all the way into May. To get back to the current date, instead of hitting this back arrow however many times, I can just click this today button and it will bring me right back to the current date in whatever view I'm in, whether it's year, month, you name it. So it'll bring you back to that current day. Here we have our mini calendar. And this is just, same thing that you've seen in Outlook, where maybe you just need to see what date a particular day falls on in May. We're looking for May 20th. We can see that that falls on a Thursday, right? So that's what your mini calendar is for. In the settings, you can set up multiple time zones. Let's say you have clients or coworkers all over the place that you work with often. I think it's great to set up their time zone in the settings so that you can see what time it is there at any particular time. Next thing I'm going to show you is how easily you can meet with other coworkers, right? So oftentimes we need to meet with people instead of calling them, texting them, sending them an email, trying to figure out who's available when, right? We've got this really great feature that's called Meet With. And as long as you keep your calendar up to date, you can very easily set up meetings with other people. So let's try that first. So if we just go right here to search for people, you can just begin typing in people's names from your organization. Here's Amanda. I want to also meet with Jason. I want to meet with Gibson. And I also want to meet with Evan. Awesome. So now this looks a little bit different. We've got some other colors, some other blocks that were added to it. Let's talk through what this does. So these rectangles here with the little diagonal lines through this means that these are times that don't work for anyone. Okay, this is usually like outside of someone's working hours. And what's happening here is I've got a couple people on the East Coast, myself and Gibson and Amanda, and then Jason and Evan are on the West Coast. So that's why we're not seeing available time with them before noon, my time. Anything that has these particular colors up here, these are events that those people have already scheduled, and the colors pertain to them. So this color is Amanda's. This color, I don't see anything with Jason on there. This color is Gibson. This color is Evan. And it looks like the next available time today, if I wanted to meet with them today, would be right here at 3 o'clock. Anywhere you have this white area, that means that it is available. So let's say we want to have a meeting at 3 p.m. here. And we'll just go ahead and add our title. Let's talk about Google Workspace, right? Now, what's amazing about Calendar is the moment that you add a single person as a guest, it automatically adds all the Google Meet details without you doing anything. You'll see it all right here. There's a button for Join Google Meet. There's the meeting ID. There's the phone number, the PIN number to get into it. This is where you can add that live stream if you have to go over 250 people. And this is what you would use for Google Meet. Now with Google Meet, whether you're using this internally or externally, those people externally, they don't have to have a Google account in order to use this. They don't have to install any software in order to use this, okay? With Zoom, obviously you do have to install software on there for it to work properly. Which brings me to my next point. If you're not using a Google Meet for some reason and you're setting up a Zoom meeting, you can download an extension, excuse me, that would allow you to choose Zoom here instead of Google Meet. But regardless, this is just creating this information for you. You can see I've added the people, I found my time, it created the meet, I just hit save and then send notifications. That simple. It's very, very easy. What I would like to do now is show you whenever you create an event, how detailed you can be with it. Because maybe it's not just something like we're having a virtual meeting, right? Maybe we're meeting in person, or it's going to be a phone call or something like that. So let's just say we want to set that up here at 4 o'clock. And I'm going to use the example that we did earlier today on our previous training, which is call let's just say phone conversation, something like that, right? I cannot type today. And I'm going to hit more options down here at the bottom. And I'm doing this so that you can see everything that you can do with an event. From here, I can make that event all day. I can set it up to repeat. It can repeat either daily, weekly, monthly, annually, Monday through Friday, or I can go in and choose custom, and I can pick specifically when I want it to happen, maybe Mondays and Thursdays, whatever that looks like, right? Here is where it's added, it will add the Google Meet video conferencing details. If I am meeting with someone, there is an add-on, as I mentioned, for Zoom, so you can do that. Now, if you're meeting in a physical location, let's say we're all going out for Thai food here. I live in Pittsburgh. So what it's doing is it's using the location services, and it's finding all of the Thai restaurants around me. I can click on Thai Gourmet, and then it enters all of that information in there for me. This is all powered by Google Maps. You can also, type in the name of your company or an address for the building, you name it, and you can add those details here as well. Below that, you have the ability to set up multiple notifications. The notifications, you really only, like if you want to add multiple notifications, which I like to do, you're the only one that's really going to see those, right? So I always have a notification 10 minutes before a meeting so that I know I have to be there in 10 minutes. I also like to add a secondary notification, and I turn that down to 1 minute, which really kind of, just lets me know at a minute till, man, you got to stop what you're doing and get ready for this other meeting, or hop off your current meeting and hop to the next one. Below that, you have this area where you can type a description about that particular meeting. You can put paragraphs of information down here. You have all that same formatting that we saw in Gmail, right? Add a link, bulleted list, numbered list. If you needed to attach a file, you could do that right here with this little paperclip, okay? One of the things that someone brought up earlier, and I thought was a great best practice, and I'd never thought of doing this before, was they put the details in this add location. So let's say that it was a phone conversation with Bob. They actually put right here, phone conversation with Bob. And then when we hit save, the cool thing about it is actually you would see those details like right here. If this were maximized, right here, see phone conversation with Bob, maybe you have that person's number or something like that. I thought that was kind of cool because then you could see it right in this weekly view or daily view, something like that, right? If I go to day, we'll see those details even more. So it actually says that it puts the location right there as well. So pretty neat. Never thought of doing that, and someone from your company came up with that, and so that's what they do earlier. So I thought that was awesome. Figured I would share that as well. All right. So now what I would like to do is move over to Google Meets, and we'll go through that. And right after that, I'll open it up to some general questions. So what I'm going to do for the time being is just take a look at one of these meetings that I already have. Here is the meeting joining details. So I'm going to click this button. Now, we saw earlier that there was an issue because my camera and microphone are working in Zoom right now. So I'm just going to mute these two so that I don't run across the same issue. But normally, you would see yourself here. You would see your background. You have set. We would see that we have audio if the microphone was turned on. We have this new button. This came out in Google Meet probably about 2 weeks ago that lets you check your audio and video. And when you click on this, it will kind of walk you through making sure that those things are working. And it creates a small little video file, and it says, hey, is this correct? Can you hear yourself? Can you see yourself? And if so, you can just go ahead and join your meeting. Here is where you can actually change your background also before you join the meeting. You can click here, and you'll see all these different things that are down here. A lot of these are built in, and then, you know, different pictures that you import. You can do that very easily here, and set that before you join your meeting. So again, I've got my video muted. I've got my audio muted. I'm going to go ahead and click join now, and I'm going to walk you through the Google Meet interface. All right. So if we had other people here, typically we're going to see them tiled, right? Let's say we had 16 people here. We would see, you know, 4 squares, 4 squares, 4 squares, 4 squares. They would all be active video, unless they have their video muted, at which point we would just see their picture like this. And I believe that works up to 52 people you can tile total with that view. If a person was presenting something, it essentially takes from like right where my mouse is here in this whole area, and you would see what they're presenting here. And then you would just have little thumbnail videos of each of the people that are in the meeting over here on the right-hand side. Okay. So down here at the bottom, this is where we enable and disable our camera. This is where we can enable or disable our microphone. If we wanted to leave this meet, we would just hit this button to hang up essentially and leave the call. If you had someone that you needed to invite into your training session, what you can do to quickly get those details, that's what this is over here on the left. This is all the details for the meeting. You can hit the upward arrow. You would see all the joining info right here. You could just hit copy joining info. It copies that to the clipboard. From there, you can just, you know, send that in an email, send it in a chat, text it to someone. And as long as they have that detailed information, and it was set up by the admin that you could invite other people, it would allow them to join. Okay, so that's important to note there. Over here on the right-hand side is the raise hand function, is exactly what it says. When you click on it, everyone kind of gets a notification, and then we would see this little hand appear in the corner of the screen of the person that was talking and whatnot. Okay. Then once you've gotten your question answered, if you're doing it that way, you can lower your hand and be ready for the next question. You also, I don't know if we determined this could work or not. Oh, it looks like it will share it with Zoom. This is good. I've turned the microphone on. We can see that it's active here as well as here. But I do this because I want you to see captions. So this is very accurate. You know, I don't have to adjust the way that I'm talking. I can say whatever I want to. And what it's doing is it's turning all of that audio into captions. And it's doing it very accurately. Right? And that's what this captions does. So maybe you're in a loud environment, airport, I always say, you can't really hear what's going on well, or you're hard of hearing, you can turn on those captions and see those. When you record a Google Meet, those captions are not recorded. That is the one thing I will tell you about that. So people have asked for that as a feature. Currently, it is not a feature, but you can turn on captions. If you needed to present information to other people during your Google Meet, that's what this button does. You can click right here on Present Now. You can say your entire screen. When I do that, it would show me all of my monitors that are hooked up to my computer. I could select the monitor that I want and hit share, and it would begin sharing that entire screen in that scenario in the Meet. Maybe I don't want to present the entire screen, right? Including all the stuff down here at the bottom. Maybe I just want to do a window from an application. Well, I can do that here. Or maybe I just want to, you know, share a tab. Maybe it's just the slide deck that I have open in a tab, and then I can hit share, and it would just share that slide deck and nothing else for other people to see. That last one is also important. It even says best for video and animation. I have been in a scenario where, you know, at this meeting that we do every week, someone shows off whatever video on YouTube related to whatever it is we're talking about. And if you just try to play that while sharing your screen, you're going to get all kinds of issues with what do you want to call it? You're going to get all kinds of issues with not maybe hearing the audio, or it's going to lag behind, or it's going to look choppy. If you just open whatever that video is in a tab and just share the tab this way, everything will work flawlessly. It's awesome. There used to be a thing that you had to do where you would go here and then you would cast it, and then you would have to find these details right here for the meeting and enter those in and then share. And it was this, and sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. So they listened to what people were saying, and they added that as a feature, which is fantastic. Now let's take a look at the options here and a few other things before we open it up to general questions. So if you needed to record a meeting, again, you're going to click those dots down here in the lower right-hand corner. You would click on record meeting, at which point you would be prompted with a little dialog window that would say, you have to ask everyone for, consent legally in order to do this. Have you done that? If so, then you hit yes, and it begins the recording. Those save to your Google Drive automatically under My Recordings. It creates a folder for that automatically without you doing anything. It will also send you an email after the fact with a link to that recording if you were the host of that meeting. Other important things here, again, if you needed to change your background or blur it out, you can do that very easily here. Some of the settings are going to be the last things that we talk about before we open it up to questions, but this is one other very important section. With a lot of these new setups that we have, maybe we have our laptop has an internal microphone, internal speakers. Maybe we've got speakers plugged into our computer. Maybe you're using a headset or headphones plugged into your computer. You've got an external webcam. This is kind of where you set that all up, like what's going to do what during this Google Meet. And in this case, I'm using an external Shure microphone to get better audio quality. But if I click this, this will show me all of the different mics that are available. This is one that is available in the wireless headphones that I'm using right now, just to listen to. But the mic isn't as good, so I use this other one. These would be the built-in audio or built-in microphones for my laptop. You do have the ability here to also change your speakers. So when we look at speakers, again, am I using my headphones? Am I using the built-in speakers? They all show up here. I'm sure you've all had a meeting at one point in time, or I always say learned your lesson the hard way, where you join a meeting, your microphone's on, you're using the internal microphone in your laptop, and your speakers are turned up. And what do you get? You get that really nasty feedback loop that happens, right? So if you are going to use your built-in microphone and your built-in speakers, I will just tell you to make sure that you're muted whenever you're not talking, number one. And if you do have to talk, you might have to temporarily mute your speakers so that it does not feedback and create that loop, okay? But I like to use this kind of one thing as the microphone, the other thing as the speakers. A lot of times I see people use the built-in microphone in their laptop, and maybe they're using headphones or something like that for the speaker output. You do also have the ability to turn on active noise cancellation. Let's again use the example, we're in the airport, we're in a car, something like that, and there's a lot of background noise. You can turn this on, and what it's going to do is try to filter out any sounds that aren't speech, which will make it clearer for you to everyone else. Okay, so that's what that does. Lastly, we want to take a look at the video section. The video section, by default, in my case, it is using my built-in camera, high definition at 720p HD. Now that can take up a bit of bandwidth, right? Maybe you don't have a great internet connection. Again, maybe you're at the airport, you're in a car with a hotspot, and your video is kind of garbled, your audio is kind of garbled. The quickest thing that you can do to correct that is just simply mute your camera. Just turn this camera off so it looks like this. And that's going to free up a ton of bandwidth. From there, you would still be able to see other people's videos. You would hear what other people are saying. And it just frees up a ton of bandwidth. But if you're in a scenario where you have to be on camera regardless, what you can do is under those settings is you can change your camera resolution. We could dumb this down to here on the send resolution down to like 360p. This is the older like television set resolution versus the HD, right? So we can do that. And we can also change the resolution at which we receive video. And what I tell people to do is this one right here, standard definition 360p, one video at a time. So you're only going to see a video of the person who's actively talking, and that will switch along the way. Okay. But those will help you to kind of have the best experience regardless of your overall internet connection. And look at that, I did that with a minute to spare to open it up to general questions. So let's go ahead and do that then. We've got about 11 minutes left here. Anyone have any questions that I could answer for them?
I do have a question on
Sure.
when you're doing a calendar invite. I used to do this, and I haven't done it in a while, so I forgot. You can put a filter if you want to have those, like, let's say all the accepts go into a get filtered out and only accept the declines or see the declines. So your mailbox doesn't get filled through all the accepts. Say there's 20 people on that invite.
That would probably, that's interesting. I have not, so Google Calendar will not do that. I believe what you can do, and I'd have to look a little bit more into that one specifically. That's a great question. I know exactly what you're talking about too. Like, let's say you've,
right?
Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So basically you have the invite and say there's people on the invite. You don't want to get your box clogged with everybody that accepts. I always like to put the declines in case I need to move the meeting. And I haven't done it in a while, but there is a filter to create to do that.
Yeah, I know that. I'm sure that probably where that filter would live would be right here in Gmail, right? So you can create filters by using this little downward facing arrow under the search options.
Okay.
So if I click that downward facing arrow, and probably what you would have to do, and this would be something, again, we could even take this offline and I can answer this directly for, Kip, and he could send it to you or send that question to Kip, which would work great because I can look it up. What I'm going to do myself is just Google search that exact thing. And what it's going to do is it's going to tell me what criteria to put in here, right? So there's something in here where it's basically going to say, who it's from. Let's just put anything in here for the time being.
I think it was subject. I think it was under subject.
Under subject, yeah. And it would, if I had, let's just say it was calendar invite or something like that, right?
Right.
Let's say that that's what it was. Then what I could do is I could go right here to create filter, and I could say skip the inbox.
There it is.
Right.
Now
so so it would just go immediately to archive. And maybe what you could even do is you can create a label, right? That just says like, and I'll show you why I'm doing this, calendar invites, and hit create. And then what it would do is anytime a calendar invite like that comes through, it skips the inbox and it automatically puts it in this label right here. And the only reason I'm doing that is so that over time, I can click on this, I can select everything that's in here and delete it, just so all of those calendar invites just aren't sitting in my mailbox somewhere, right?
Yeah, I would just have to do like the sub filter of declines. So
right.
I'm actually going to Google it too, and then I'll ask Kip and see who gets to it first.
Yeah, no problem at all. That's a great one. Honestly, like I'm going to look that up and share that one, I think, in the future too, because that's a great idea. Where I really see this, and I'm sure you have too, is, you send out this all company, right? This all company meeting, and it's like hundreds of people or thousands of people. And all of a sudden you're seeing, no, I can't make it. No, I can't make it. Yes, I can, so on and so forth. So no, that's a great idea. I will look that up. And if you can't find the answer, let me know. But this is definitely where you do it.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. That's a great question. Yes.
Hi, Michael Tarter. When you're giving a demo like this, and
Mhm.
if you were using Google Meet, so if you're focusing on Google Meet, you're giving a demo like this, going around from tab to tab, and
Mhm.
and sometimes there's animation, sometimes there's video, but you're going from tab to tab. Of those three options of sharing your screen or presenting your screen,
Mhm.
what is the best option for going around from tab to tab? Is it sharing the entire
The entire
screen?
screen, yes, that's what I personally do. And as a best practice, I personally use 3 screens at home, but let's say, maybe you just have 2 screens, which is totally fine. I present everything that is not on my laptop screen. Okay. And the reason that I do that is if for some reason I don't have my notifications turned off, I don't need people seeing like, hey, you've received a new message, or hey, it's time for this. The one that keeps popping up for me is my McAfee, whatever it's called, my McAfee malware is expired. I don't want people seeing that all the time, right? So for me, the best practice is to always just share that second screen. And if you reach that point where you do have a tab that has the audio and video, just do the stop sharing. So let me do that really quick just to show you. What I would do is stop sharing, and then I would start sharing again, and I would only choose that particular tab, right? So present now, I would present entire screen, this screen, share, and everyone will see that. And then, and of course, I'm not seeing it now. If I go to present, there it is infinitely. I love that. Um, so everyone would be seeing that. And then now if I need to get to just that video, let's say the video is on this tab, what I would do is I would go to stop presenting. I would go to present now, a tab, and then pick the tab that just had the audio and video and share that. Okay. From there, I would go back to, if I'm ready to present all these other little tabs that I've opened, I would just repeat the process. I would say stop presenting. I would go to present now, your entire screen, and then I would go back to that monitor that has everything on it. Okay. And that's what I've found personally that works for me. And then again, people just aren't seeing all of those notifications that pop up that do come through on your main laptop screen.
And if you are presenting a Google Slides presentation, for example, in presentation mode, does
Yep.
that change anything?
It does not. So right now, if I go here to like, let's say this, and I am in presenter mode, like, so there's my tab, I go to present. Now that that's full screen, this is what everyone is going to see, right? So what I would do in that scenario is I would have this Google Meet that has all of the details and has everyone joined. This would actually be on my laptop monitor over here. And then what I would be presenting is what's on this screen here. That makes sense?
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question surrounding a little bit more of the share screen. As someone who uses one monitor, in terms of, I've been playing around and trying to see and configure this, but one of the things I noticed is when you share your screen, the pictures, the video feeds of the stakeholders in the meeting goes away, right? And so the use case being, I'm in a demo and I'm demoing a part of the platform, and I like seeing the reactions to the people who are attending the meeting with their video on to see like, okay, this is something I should lean into. Is there an ability to keep the visibility into those video stakeholders on for a single screen shared screen experience?
Yeah, so you would, the only option really to you there under a single screen, well, if it's a slide deck, no, because what's going to happen there, you're going to be on the slide deck like this, right? Going through it. And when you do this, you can't see your active Google Meet that's open, right? Is that making sense?
Yeah, understood.
Yeah. So In that case, you can't do that. But the other thing that I've seen people do is they'll join it with their phone and then just have the phone muted. And then, with the Google Meet app on your phone, you can still see all of those people, like the videos live or the images, all of that stuff. So that might be a secondary option to you if you don't have, another monitor, is to just join it with your phone as well.
And then the other question I had, thank you.
Yeah.
The question I had, is there any ability to pause the screen that is displaying and then re-engage when it's ready, right? Again, use case, something's taking too long to load. And I don't
Yep.
want a little spinny wheel of death going on. So if I pause it to something that is loaded, while this loads in the background, I could then resume when it's ready to go.
Yeah, unfortunately, there isn't a way to pause. That came up in our last training as well. What you would have to do is just stop presenting that tab or stop presenting in general until it loads, and then restart, just hit the present now button and then pick whatever it is that you're presenting. I'm sure that that's something that will come down the pipeline. They've made so many changes to this already. The raise hand, the Q&A section that you can do here, where you can do polls, you can have people ask questions. All that is new to Google Meet this year. Even breakout rooms, that just came out like a month ago. So I can see this over time, them adding all of those additional things. I remember when I first started teaching people how to use this, not this past October, but the October before, it had a limit of 150 people. Now it's 250 people with up to 10,000 people streaming. So all of that stuff, we're seeing them make those changes over time. So hopefully that will be something that we see as well. Yeah, great question.
Hey, David, got a question for
Mangalam.
you. Where Zoom, if we just simply clicked on the icon, we could always find the video session. Now it's, with Google Meet, it's buried in one of these browser tabs. Now, for many of us, I suppose, we've got multiple Chrome windows, and each of those windows may have multiple tabs. What's the best way to find the video session if we had to kind of alt tab out to another browser and now we can't find our way back to the video session?
Yeah.
Other than moving the Google Meet video over to your laptop screen, like in Andy's case, he has a single screen experience.
Right. So are you just saying that you're trying to find the tab, or you're trying to find out what other meetings you have easily through Google Meet?
I was presenting. I had to
Okay.
open up I had to go to another browser window to find something. And once I found it, I'm going, my goodness, where did the original Google Meet window and its tab disappear off to? It's not easy
Right.
to find.
That is correct. My coworker, and I could probably find out what it is. So you're exactly right. You might end up where you have a billion tabs open up here and they just get tinier and tinier. The way that you can at least locate a Google Meet when it is active, let's see if it does it without me starting it. Give me 1 second here. See this little symbol right here next to the X, this little circle? Did I lose you?
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, no, you haven't lost me. Yes, I see
But
it.
you see that? So that's how you'll know what that is. So as I begin opening more and more tabs here, let's just see if I can get it to shrink pretty good. You'll still see that little dot there as you keep opening more and more tabs. So Meet, the word Meet is kind of going away, but you'll always see the active Google Meet is that little circle right there. Even if this tab gets to be half the size that it is now, you'll see that little symbol right up there at the top. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Awesome.
And what if
Okay.
you had multiple windows open?
Well, from there, you would actually have to look through both of those windows. And again, just look at those tabs along the top. I mentioned, I don't know what it is. I could find out if it's something that you're interested in. My coworker actually uses some sort of third-party piece that I believe works as an add-on for Google Chrome that is tab management, where you can actually group all of your tabs together and stuff like that. But if you're interested in something like that, I could look into it. But yeah, otherwise you really just have to look through on either monitor, just the open tabs, and look for that symbol that we see up there at the top.
Or Adrian, maybe just open Google Meet in another window that it's just one tab in one window that you can find it more faster.
Hey, I want to know how to add co-host to the Google Meet.
So with Google Meets, anyone actually has the ability to present. That's one of the great things about it. You don't really have to do anything extra in order to make that happen. Anyone that is inside of that Meet will see this present now button down here at the bottom. So they have the ability to present at any time. You just have to make sure that you stop presenting before that other person will be able to present. Okay.
In Zoom, only the host has the option to record or something. So does Google Meet, do we have any restriction like that?
Anyone can do it. That is correct. Yep. And what would happen when you have that recording? You would see up here in the upper left-hand corner a red circle, and it would say recording. So everyone knows that it's happening as well. Okay. But that would appear right up here.
And who gets the recording?
It would be the person that hit record, as well as the host that hosted that, event that set it up to begin with. That would appear in their Google Drive folder under Meets. What is it? It's here under Drive. I think it says Meet Recordings, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, right there, Meet Recordings. It just creates this automatically, and all of those recordings will show up in there.
Okay. Is there any permission that I can set so that not everyone in the meeting can start recording? Only I, as a host, can keep the recording permission?
Your administrator would have to set that up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Administrator have to set it up.
Yeah.
Because there are some sensitive meetings which I don't want anybody to record. So as a Google Meet. Okay.
Yeah, and I can talk to Kip a little bit more about that too, if need be, if there's any issues, if you can't figure out how to do that. So I can most certainly assist with that. And we're about 5 minutes over. I did have a 2 o'clock meeting that I was supposed to hop on about 5 minutes ago, so I do have to wrap it up here. But a couple of things, if you do have any questions, please make sure to send those over to Kip. And we can get those answered for you. You're also more than welcome. I know that I'm doing this training session again from, it looks like 4 to 5 today, 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you could also do something where you could just pop into the same meeting in the last 10 to 15 minutes and, show up for the Q&A of that as well. But if there's anything pressing, just send that over to Kip, and Kip and I will work through those things and get the answers out to everyone. But with that being said, I do want to thank you all for joining me today for this training. Again, I'm doing that other one from 4 to 5, and then next week on the same day, the same time slots, I will be doing more training on Google Sheets, Docs, and Slides. So